Welcome back, Fever fans, to another exciting season for Fever basketball. My name is Chris Ord, and this is Fever Replay, where we are going to weekly break down the Fever games and any kind of news that might pop up throughout the week. I'm here with the indefatigable Keisha Gallagher. Say hi, Keisha.
Hi, Keisha. That was good. Your eyes don't say you love it, but I think when you hear back, you're going to think it's funny.
I'm going to think it's fine.
I was actually really thrown by the adjective. I didn't know how to respond.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's apt. You are fairly indefatigable. I've never noticed you to be defatigable or fatigable.
I'm glad we cleared that right up.
Let's start right up from say hi, Keisha.
Hi, everybody. This is better.
It is better. I like it.
Hi. I'm very excited to talk about Fever basketball, especially with all of these big changes coming up in this new team.
Absolutely. So, when it comes to the Fever, we're looking at a very different team this year. As the changes were coming through all off season, I was like, wow, that's huge. Wow, that's great. Oh, we got her. No way. Oh, we lost her. And then by the end of it, I was like, am I going to recognize this team on the court? That was like kind of my feeling at the end. Not really sad, but just like questioning, what is this team going to look like? What was that like for you?
I felt like it was a complete reconstruction in the best way possible, especially when it came to experience. I think that some of the trades were shocking, but when you look at those players on paper, the amount of experience that they've added to this team speaks volumes. And just in the last 2 games that I've seen, I am stunned by the chemistry and the basketball knowledge you're seeing on the court.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. One of my favorite stats I heard them talk about, I believe they said last year we had 13 playoff games worth of experience on the court, and this year we have 219. And that's crazy.
Yeah.
It is a big jump. And it was something that I feel like at the end of last year, even though last year was fantastic, when we got to the playoffs, it was clear we needed like that experience. Like it felt like last year we were a scrappy young team with a lot of talent who was really shocking a lot of people. And that doesn't feel like a team that's going to make it far in the playoffs, which it didn't. I would love to watch them win a playoff game. That would be great.
I think this year, not to get too far ahead in the season, I think this year, though, there is a good opportunity for them to make it to the playoffs again. And I think with this coach, with Stephanie at the helm, not only do they have the playoff experience when it comes to coaching, but then you have the additions, they have that experience, and you have a lot of young guys who are championship winners in their own right in a variety of ways.
Yeah, I think for sure if we're going to talk about the new look Fever, we should definitely talk first about the coach. Because honestly, I was not somebody that was like a big Sides hater last year. I felt like Sides actually managed to make a team that was fairly new playing together, really come together and form into a real team by the end. I felt like she was a very good coach at having a winning season. And I think when we got to the end, I was like, I don't know that she's a coach that can necessarily create like a winning game plan for like one game to outcoach another coach, you know. But I felt like for the year, she did really good. I am super excited to see what Coach White is going to bring to the table. We already kind of know she's not an unknown quantity. She's someone who really knows what she's doing, has roots in Indiana, which is really kind of just like exciting on the story side of things. When we're like, see, it's kind of like a homecoming for her, you know? She was named like Miss Indiana basketball when she was in high school, which is kind of fun. And then that was just, you know, right down the road from where she's working now. So that's pretty exciting.
She's also a former number 22, which I think is hilarious.
I didn't realize that, but you're right. And that is kind of exciting. She knows how to get the best out of number 22, which is what we need.
Well, I also love with her coming to the team, she's also bringing with her from Connecticut, Dewana Bonner, who's one of my favorite players to watch. I think she is highly underrated because people think she's, seasoned. She's a seasoned player, but that basketball IQ is pretty much unmatched.
And if you're worried about like the energy and the youth, we have that on our team in spades still. Even with the new look, we're still a very young team. And having somebody there who's kind of seen it, who's done it, who's been to the mountaintop, but is still able to do her thing. She doesn't look like somebody who's like on her way down, like she's beginning to decline from greatness. She seems like a woman who is very much like in the middle of doing what she does best, which, I'm excited for sure.
She's a great utility player, 3 through 4, like consistently. She can play a 5 if she has to, and she's not afraid to bring the ball up. I love her style of play, and she's not afraid to take those deep corner shots. She can play anywhere on the court.
And I feel like she is one of the few players who could have made me less sad about losing Temmie, because I was so sad. I woke up, I still remember to this day, I woke up, I looked at my phone, and it said, the Fever traded Temmie. And I think I texted you right away with a bunch of sad emojis.
Well, it's just, I didn't understand her being unprotected, because when I think of fast-paced basketball, and I feel like that's the Fever's go-to with their team, Temmie and Clark had such good chemistry and seem to always find each other. But, I mean, I don't think they're lacking for that now, especially after seeing that Brazil game. That was a fast-paced game, and they were pushing the whole time.
No, absolutely. That's the thing. Losing Temmie, I was like, oh no, she really had the ability to stretch the floor. But now looking at our lineup, we have so much length and speed and athleticism, and now even basketball IQ, like you said, in there to match the person who's throwing those passes. It's kind of a perfect thing. I mean, this is early. I'm excited. I'm a Fever fan. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, gosh, how could it be a bad mix? I really hope it's not. I hope it's a great mix. All right, what do you think about the other players that we gained in this offseason?
I think that there is the ultimate gift in getting Howard, who is a former Defensive Player of the Year, who is already stretching the court. And, I mean, that is an untapped level of skill when it comes to the post play. I think her and Boston are going to have really good chemistry. I think we've seen a little bit of that. Just knowing that people are going to attack Boston. She's playing at the high post. She's not afraid to go low. That give and go, that high-low, that in and out, that is going to be a great opportunity to see high level, high percentage shooting increase and not having to rely on the 3. And then that opens up the outside shooters.
Yeah, absolutely. I also couldn't help but notice Cunningham on the court. She was, especially in that first game versus the Mystic, just absolutely went off. It was one thing to show some ability on a new team to not have to flounder and find your way, but for her to kind of just go off the way she did, and in spite of getting a lot of opposition, physical, hard opposition from the other team, was actually extremely impressive.
Off the bench with 34 minutes, she scored 21 points. I mean, I don't know who else is doing that.
No, yeah, that's the thing. You could
especially
say
a non-starter.
Whatever you want to say to discount that, but it is an impressive debut on a new team, 100%.
Well, as a Phoenix fan, I've seen Cunningham have a lot of tough games where it seems like the shot's not falling, but when it is, when she's on, you never want her off the court. So I think she is a great pickup. My biggest red flag is consistency. But again, it's a new team. They've only been practicing for 1 week. And the Phoenix Mercury was a much older team. The pace was definitely not as fast, so I think this is a better mix for Sophie.
On the defensive side of the ball, already the things we've talked about, I feel like we're definitely trying to overload on the defensive end, with the coaching, with the players we added. I think the message was clear. It's like offense will not be a problem with this team. If you look at Caitlin, if you look at Kelsey Mitchell, like those two ladies can just score whenever they want, especially if you surround them by even more talent, which we've done. So this idea of just like kind of going hard on the defensive end is really cool. And seeing Hull and Cunningham out there together, just like with the motor that both of them have, and the ability to really kind of like full on annoy in both the worst way and the best way, the other team is like something that's really cool to see.
Well, I think that I was a little concerned on what this guard team was going to look like prior to the trades, because I knew that Erica Wheeler wasn't returning, but I think that was for the best because there was just one too many point guards previously, and now that's been, I feel like, leveled out in the best way possible. You still have plenty of guards who can handle the ball, but I think Erica Wheeler being a true point guard, that made it really difficult for there to be the correct type of movement that you want in an offense. And now you have ball handlers, you have dribble penetration, and the passing has gotten so much better.
In these two games, the passing has been insane.
And I think that there was one point in this most recent game against Brazil that I jumped out of my seat. I was so excited. I think Boston was leading in assists. Mm-hmm. She had 4 assists at the half, and that lit me up because watching her play in the 3-on-3 league this past offseason for Unrivaled, I knew that was going to be a skill that she fine-tuned. And I think that, again, the high-low opportunities for the in and out, and that's getting your guards open, that's getting better percentage shots, I think that's going to be a really big factor for a lot of victory.
Yeah, and not only that, when you see Boston start off the season for us with the 3, versus the Mystic was kind of exciting in that, like, if that is a piece of her game, like, it's not going to be the main piece. I'm not like, oh, all of a sudden she's going to just start jacking up threes all game long. But the fact that she could confidently take the first shot of the season for the whole team from the 3 and make it
deep corner 3
makes it feel like, oh, shoot, like, she's still developing. She's still working on things. She's still adding stuff to her bag. And that is extremely exciting. If we can see her getting the blocks that she was getting in that game, and then also taking threes, and then still doing her job down low, that's kind of amazing thing from somebody who's not one of our new ones, but still bringing new things to the table.
Yes. What is she? She started off that game with that crazy deep 3. She had the 2 blocks. The whole team had that game. And I feel like her fitness overall has improved. Not that she wasn't fit last season, but there's just a new level and a new degree to her movement because she's extending that mid-range. She's getting a little further out in the key, and that's just going to make her more deadly when it comes to those quick... I mean, the way that they're passing the ball, less than 1 second, 2 seconds... those quick inside shots are going to go off for her, especially with Howard and Bonner crashing the boards.
I'm excited, super excited, to be able to start talking about Fever basketball again, not just trades, not just, rumors, not just Caitlin Clark apparently quitting basketball every week. Who knows, whatever people want to say about her. But I am curious what you think we can actually take away from these preseason games. Preseason, and really all sports, is notorious for, do they matter? Do they not? Is it just kind of a workout, a scrimmage? What information do you think we can actually get from watching these preseason games?
I think you're going to see what your draft prospects bring to the table. Are they able to handle this higher level of basketball? So Timpson has already been incredibly impressive to me. So if she can maintain that skill set, Hall is a great asset coming from a dynasty. Ejim also is keeping her own. I think those 3 stand out a lot. But you have so much seniority on this roster. If they can figure out a flow, especially early on in the start of the season, they're going to set the standard for what Fever basketball is going to look like. So I think Coach White, has already said a lot by how she has been bringing players off the bench, the amount of minutes those players are seeing, and the combinations. She's not afraid to try multiple shooting guards at the same time. She's not afraid to try bigs playing 2 through 4. I think that this is going to set a precedent that what you thought you knew about Fever basketball last season, just forget it. We're starting over, even with some of these great returners, like Kelsey Mitchell, like Clark, like Boston. This is a new style, and they're coming ready to play, and it's going to be a faster pace than it was last year.
Absolutely. And I think another big piece of it is, I think, seeing the fitness, right, and seeing where we're at. The speed we're already playing at is kind of incredible. This season, I feel like there were a lot of options for players between, during the off season of what they were going to do and how they were going to handle it. I think it's probably going to be pretty interesting to see kind of how that pans out throughout the season. What are your thoughts on that?
100% agree, especially when you look at the Fever alone. You had multiple players going in the 3-on-3 league for Unrivaled, and that was a crazy level of fitness to commit to because you're playing on a smaller court, of course, but there's no one to protect you. You had to fine-tune all of the basic level skills that you probably don't notice as much on a 5-on-5. You had a 5-on-5 league that was very competitive, but it definitely wasn't getting the same level of attention, so there was a little bit more opportunity for you to work on traditional basketball skills. And then you had your European league opportunities. I know Dantas was playing in Turkey. I'm excited to see what that play had done for her. She definitely looks more fit, and I know she kind of joined at an awkward time last year. So just on the Fever alone, you have a wide variety of skills that have been plugged into these different leagues and opportunities, and I think that is going to show in spades compared to those who kind of did their own fitness regimens or were working just on shooting or just on getting a little bit stronger. I know that Clark had been working a lot on her fitness. She felt that she could bring more to the table, have that deeper, more consistent shot, and I think she's going to be a better point guard for the workout she did over the season. I think the shooting is always going to be there for her. She is a insanely strong shooter, but the criticism she dealt with last year with the turnovers, I think we're going to see a better IQ when it comes to moving the ball, especially with the veterans that they've added.
I'm also just excited to see her after a break, because if we think about it, she went like a year and a half without stopping playing competitive basketball, which is kind of an intense thing, playing all the way through all of that time, going through the postseason of college and then even into the postseason for 2 games of last year. But I am excited to see where she's at. So far, so good. I mean, she looked fantastic versus Brazil. What were your thoughts on that Brazil game? Obviously, it was fantastic. Obviously, we destroyed them. It's hard to say anything other than that. It was, what was the final score? Is
108 to 44.
108 to 44.
But there was something, what was the range? She took the deepest 3 I think I've seen in a basket, 36
The one
feet?
that was beyond her own logo, is that the one?
I think they said it was 36 feet, which is insane. Because I am from Iowa, and I've been on that court, luckily, and I've seen where that mark is. It's far. 32 is far. 36? She just, slapped out another 4 feet. It was nothing.
No.
That's scary. That's scary and crazy.
Both scary and crazy. What do you think we can take away from that Brazil game, other than that we're awesome?
I think it's just, can we keep up the momentum? Can people stay healthy? Can we stay focused? I think with a lot of changes, and I don't see this happening too often, but ego can flare up, and I know that there are a lot of players who expect to start, so I'm hopeful that everyone is united for the Fever and they just want to put together good basketball and win.
So right now we are starting Clark, Mitchell, Howard, Bonner, Boston.
Mm-hmm.
After these 2 games, Do we think we're sticking with that? Do we think that's the starters? Do we think starters are up in the air? Or is Howard like... I feel like the other four feel like they're locked in. But it's...
I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent to pull from, which I think is great. But I think Hull is great off the bench. I think Cunningham's proven to be amazing off the bench. And I want to start Howard. I want to start Bonner. I want to start Boston. I feel like those are... I can't even believe all three of those players are on the same team
kind of
still.
Crazy, yeah. No, I agree. And realistically, like you're saying about health and being able to keep things up, these are not going to probably be the 5 starters for the whole season. So we know we're going to have to tap in to that talent pool, which we're going to do. We're going to see it plenty of times. But I agree. Those seem like the clear best 5 players we have. And luckily, they all look to fit pretty well together on the floor. So I myself am very excited. What do you want to see next week?
Ooh, it's going to be a big game. I'm excited to see what this team looks like with everyone healthy, everyone starting, and I'm interested in what White is going to be prepping them for when it comes to the Dream. The Dream is going to be a different beast this year as well. You have a lot of new bodies on that roster, including Brittany Griner, and I think that with Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard, and Jordan Canada, those 3 guards have insane chemistry and spent a lot of time together this summer in Unrivaled. They weren't all on the same team, but they have such respect for each other's game. They spend so much time together in the gym. They work out together all the time. They developed quite the relationship. That's going to be a dangerous trio. And if they're on, no offense, but Ryan Howard is unguardable. I know Lexi Hull tried to guard her in Unrivaled. It was difficult. I mean, it's difficult for anyone. She can pull up. I mean, she doesn't have the crazy deep range that Caitlin Clark has, but she has the handle, she has the vision, she's insanely talented, and they just picked up maybe the best center in the league, the tallest by far, the one who dunks. It's just, and she's excited to be there. She's super excited to play for Atlanta. So it's going to be a new dream, and I'm excited to see how the Fever respond to that, and I'm curious to see how Stephanie White prepares them for a much different style of basketball.
Yeah, I do like it because, one of the big questions when you're coming into a new season with the new roster is, okay, what do we look like firing on all cylinders? And I think we kind of got to see that versus Brazil. Because you want to know, what does it look like?
Yeah.
What is our best version of ourselves? If we're allowed to get to what we want to do, what are we doing? And I think next week we're going to get to see the opposite, which is another big question mark. What do we do when we're challenged? When we're having trouble, right? When we aren't sure we can get a stop on the other end? What are our answers? What do we flex into? And I think we will get to see some of that, speaking of what we can get out of a preseason. Hopefully we'll get a couple of those answers, see what that is. Either way, I'm excited. I'm excited for another season of basketball, excited to be going on this journey with you, Keisha, and I can't wait to see where it goes. So we'll catch you next week on Fever Replay. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.